Mr. Baka Show. I say it all the time. See, this is just real talk about real stuff. You know, I say it all the time. See, this is just real talk about real stuff. You know what I mean? It's no game, no nothing else. It's just two guys talking about whatever with whoever at any given time. So you never know what we're going to talk about.
Blessings. One love. It's your man, Mr. Baka, back again. So, I'm going to pick up kind of where we left off last week. Last week we were talking about ultramagnetic, and we were in that whole old school pioneer era, talking about people who had a great influence on the sound of hip-hop, and especially on the drums and sampling. So, we're going to pick back up from there. So, now, 1984, there was a guy came out, Kurtis Mantronik. Mantronix is a Jamaican Canadian-born immigrant who came to the U.S. And started experimenting with electro music, and it was like in the early 80s that he himself was inspired by Yellow Magic Orchestra. Yellow Magic Orchestra was the first group that used all electronic synthesizers in their music, completely digital based. So that was the first group of their kind, which very much inspired Mantronix early on to make the type of music that he was making. So in 1984, he was working as an in-store DJ for Downtown Records in Manhattan, and he met a MC. He was a Haitian-born guy from Flatbush. He was a regular, and they started talking. They came out with a demo. You know, they got together, started doing some music, came out with a demo, and the demo that they made was called "Fresh Is the Word," and they were eventually signed off of that single, which was one of their first singles, to Sleeping Bag Records. And Sleeping Bag Records, as you guys may or may not know, was where Criminal Minded was done. Tila Rock, a few different things happened with Sleeping Bag Records. You know, they were instrumental in some of the changes that were going on in hip hop in the early 80s and into the late 80s. So that's where they came from. But anyway, Mantronix was like one of those guys who was just instrumental in the creation of some of these styles of hip hop that we now take for granted. You know, I mean, before him, nobody was really marrying up electronica and hip hop. You know what I'm saying? As far as hardcore hip hop, you had like the Planet Patrols and Twilight 22s and groups like that were kind of more far to the left of what mainstream at that time hip hop was, which was more of like your Schoolie D's, your Kumo D's, Treacherous Threes, cats like that. The sound of that time, actually, the early 80s, on the electronica side, was a lot of Lindrum, a lot of just heavy bass, things of that nature. And while we were on the hip hop side of it, were still listening to those beats, still pop locking and dancing to those beats, the sound itself actually was a little different. So then comes along Mantronix doing all of the beats and hip hop tracks that he did for so many hip hop artists, like this one right here by my man Service Just Dice.
Tricks, just it is just next to my knowledge, I guess that I'm fresh and when I manifest, I never protest. Though you say you never know, you're supposed to be in a belt. Sympathetic, easy
pistol, and Mr. Rock.
Officials of the law, 'cause even if I slip, I still stand tall on the most incredible elevator pedestal that's hard to get, but never more gets a full back connoisseur who always gives more. And I am sure my rhymes never bore anyone who will listen, 'cause I got your attention diabolical scheme. Now here's my invention, a poem, a rap, a haiku. In fact, my opponent here's dead. You'll find there what a bunch of rhymes, but just all beginner. In 2005, bound to be honest, like that on the comeback. To a fact, like this, sweet as a kid. It's a remedy. It's like this, never the right. Get active or back. Step back, or you might get slapped. Oh yeah, niggas don't stop. That's the way it's really done. We'll co-rock the party with MC like Peace. And my man Mantronix on the wheel still peace.
And we're back. Yeah, man, that's my man right there. Just Dice, Sir Vicious, Just Dice, the gangster of love. Yeah, man, he was the first, like, gangster rapper I ever heard, man. Guy was killing it. Anyway, but back to Mantronix. We're going to get on to Sir Vicious, Just Dice on another day, because that brother right there put his work in. He's iconic. Anyway, but the influence of Mantronix, God, man, this guy. So, early 80s, he did a lot of stuff, you know, that was really, like, cutting edge. When he first came out, he was, like, among the ranks of, like, Man Parrish and Twilight 22, stuff like that, because of the way that his sound was. He was using a lot of vocoder, using a lot of heavy drums, but his drums were, like, holding up the melody of the song. His drums were like synthesized voice over a bass line, played completely on a synth. Now, I don't know how many producer heads there are out there, but, you know, at that time, that was really unheard of. Nobody was really doing that. Everybody had at least an acoustic drum, or it was going off at least something that was a little less layered. His approach at coming at hip-hop was really tight because of the extension of dudes like Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, Kraftwerk, you know, it all that stuff combined in his music, you know, and he had this New Jack kind of old school sound for the time. And for example, Beck sampled him, Beastie Boys have sampled him, a bunch of different MCs have sampled his works, and they have been, you know, musicians for years have been going cuckoo over this guy. I mean, but a lot of people don't really understand why. And when you really start delving into his collection and really start looking at the things he's done, you start realizing that this guy was a phenom. And he actually did this slow song in 1989 called "Gotta Have Your Love," featuring Wondrous. And that song actually was one of his big ones. It went to the top of the charts in the UK. It was like number 4 in the charts in the UK, number 6 on the dance charts here in the States, on the dance charts, and 26 actually on the R&B charts. And so at the time, with Shannon and all these other things coming out like that, a hip-hop producer comes out with a R&B song, and it does that well. I don't know if many people understand the significance of that, because at that time there weren't a lot of hip-hop producers, and much less hip-hop producers who were also doing R&B. So I'm still, you know, doing my due diligence to do a little more research on this, but it looks to me like he may be one of the first producer for R&B and hip-hop that had music that broke into the top 100 on the Billboard charts across the countries. You know, not just this country, but Ireland, Germany, Berlin, Belgium, U.S., you know, all over, France, you know. So we have a guy whose sound was duplicated quite a lot, but doesn't really get the just due. So anyway, but I truly believe that one of his best albums, actually, one of his best songs, was baseline, 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 baseline.